One of the biggest pain points I know you experience is, where do I start and what's next? With over 100 immigration programs and 50 types of work permits, it's normal to feel unsure. Whether you're taking your first step in your Canadian journey or you're already here studying and working, I'll teach you the exact decision-making framework I use with clients so you leave with a plan you can act on today. In this video, we're going to cover the difference between temporary and permanent residence and why this distinction matters, why you need to start from your ultimate objective and how to reverse engineer your strategy, how I choose your pathway, my exact decision logic, and when it makes sense to begin with a temporary stay to strengthen a future PR file. And finally, how all of this fits into a practical roadmap you can follow. As we go, you can dive deeper with our free tools portal, featuring our knock code selector, letter builders, and all the tools I've developed and used with our clients. The link's in the description and pinned in the comment. So, temporary versus permanent resident. What's the difference? Temporary residence lets you work, study, or visit with conditions and time limits, whereas PR lets you live and work anywhere in Canada indefinitely and eventually apply for citizenship. You might be able to apply directly for PR, but many win with a temporary to permanent residence plan. So, about starting, you might be able to apply directly for permanent residence, but for many, winning involves a temporary to permanent residence transition. So, to my strategy, I always begin with two questions. One, what's your ultimate objective? Is it temporary, or are you looking for a longer-term future for your family? And two, what must be true to qualify for the program that's best for you? Knowing your long-term objective, we can pick your likely lane. In the case of PR, is it express entry, with or without a category-based fit? Is it a provincial nominee program or family class? Then I list the must-be-true factors to make that goal achievable, like valid language test results, ECA, documented skilled work experience in and out of Canada, employer support, and in some cases, settlement funds. So why does this matter? If you build your strategy around the nearest short-term permit, you can back yourself into a corner later. When we work backwards from the destination, short-term choices support long-term outcomes. Here's the good stuff. This is the exact sequence I've used to identify the fastest viable PR route for you without painting you into a corner later. First, I test for CEC, the Canadian Experience class. This is the path of least resistance and the quickest way to permanent residence. So I ask, do you have at least 12 months of full-time or equivalent part-time skilled Canadian work experience in the past 3 years? If yes, CEC is typically the cleanest lane. We then look at your CRS profile and current draw trends to determine your likelihood of getting invited to apply. If you're competitive, or you can be made competitive quickly, CEC is usually the recommendation. If not competitive or eligible, we look at fast lift levers. If you're eligible but not competitive, we look at the levers that can help you improve your positioning, like improving language scores, learning French, adding an ECA, leveraging your spouse's language and education, shifting to a priority occupation. If that doesn't get you there, we keep building your Canadian experience while we line up a backup. If you don't have a year of Canadian work experience yet, we'll check federal skilled worker or federal skilled trades eligibility. If you meet the federal skilled worker criteria, we'll align with your profile to a category-based priority that may lower the threshold you need to get an invitation to apply. If you're in a qualifying skilled trade and you can secure a job offer or a certificate of qualification from a province or territory, this lane could be favorable and align with a category-based draw. If EE looks borderline right now, we don't abandon it, we just park it while we improve profile factors or pursue a province that will boost your odds. If it makes sense, we look for express entry aligned nominations if you're eligible. These can boost your express entry profile ranking. But if the enhanced provincial streams aren't feasible, we'll consider a base stream where an employer job offer, an in-demand occupation, or a regional stream might fit you. Provincial quotas and pacing can tighten in certain years, and we plan timelines and temporary status accordingly so you don't stall or fall out of status. If express entry or PNPs aren't a fit right now, we look at things like regional pilots in rural communities or francophone communities where your occupation and profile might be in demand. We may also look at the family class, and if you're someone who is interested in starting a business, we can look at business immigration options like startup visa, entrepreneur provincial nominee programs, but we avoid relying on self-employment for CEC because it doesn't qualify. So the business route needs to be aligned with. And if you're an entrepreneur, we might look at programs like Startup Visa or Provincial Nominees Programs for entrepreneurs, but we avoid relying on self-employment for express entry points because they don't qualify, so your business needs to align with an entrepreneur-appropriate strategy from day one. And if you don't qualify right now, we build the not yet to yes plan. So we obtain or maintain temporary status that feeds your PR strategy. And concurrently, we focus on improving language, upgrading education, and targeting roles in priority knocks. We can also consider foreign work experience as a points lever. You can gain eligible foreign work experience even while you're physically in Canada by working remote for an employer outside Canada. You can also use your spouse's profile strategically, looking at their language, education, and qualifying work experience to see if they produce a stronger profile as the principal applicant. This decision logic protects you from short-term moves that don't advance the destination, and it gives you a clear plan A with a realistic plan B. Many people begin with a temporary stay because economic permanent resident programs are invitation-based. The government uses personal and human capital factors like age, education, language ability, and skilled work experience to select candidates most likely to integrate economically. People who have studied or worked in Canada or who have support from a Canadian employer are typically more competitive because they've shown they can succeed here. That's why a temporary stay often strengthens a future PR application. There are situations where applying directly for PR makes sense, such as if you're working in a high-demand occupation featured in category-based express entry draws, or if you qualify under an employer-driven provincial nominee program. For example, the BC Health Authority. I recently helped someone who came directly from the EU to work in a surgical position. If you're an entrepreneur, you can apply direct to the Startup Visa program. We'll go deeper into this program in another video because there are definitely unique challenges to be considered with that program. If you're a French speaker who meets express entry criteria, you could be invited to apply direct for PR through one of the French category-based draws. And if you're in the family class categories like parents and grandparents and spouses, but note the volume is low and competition is high, especially for the parent-grandparent. Some select rural and francophone community pilots are direct to PR as well, but for most people, the common pattern is secure temporary status, spend at least a year, often more, in Canada, and transition to PR when your eligibility is strongest. So this might look like IEC working holiday permit holder, transitioning to a labor market impact assessment work permit, and then eventually becoming a PR through a provincial nominee program or an express entry program. If this is helping you see your own path more clearly, you'll love what's inside our free tools portal, including our decision tree, which is the exact system I just described that helps me identify the eligibility and the best fit plan for my clients. Leave a comment with your questions and the topics you'd like us to cover in future videos. So, here's how I'd map your journey at a high level. First, define the destination clearly. Which PR program is your most likely fit? Is it Canadian Experience Class, a specific P&P, a category-based express entry path, or family class? We identify that first and typically have some backup plans as well. Then we define what needs to be true. So before you can file a strong PR application, what conditions have to be met? This could be language results, education level, skilled work experience in and outside Canada, employer support, typically in a provincial nominee, and these become the benchmarks you work toward while you're in temporary status and preparing your application. Next, we choose the stepping stones. If you need Canadian experience, we plan the fastest, lowest barrier temporary route that builds in, and we plan any concurrent processes that reduce time and status gap risks. For that example, where an IEC permit holder transitions to an LMIA work permit. And then we sequence for timing. So we had to make sure that all of the permit validity, the application and eligibility timing all align, so you don't fall out of status and you don't miss out on your eligibility window. And then we plan for contingencies. If a stream pauses, if CRS scores increase, we have a backup permit or provincial program targeted. So what if you're not eligible right now? That doesn't mean no, it means not yes. And here's how we turn not yes into a yes. We consider shifting toward in-demand occupations that align with category-based draws. We look to improve language scores, whether that's targeted preparation or learning another language. We also consider educational upgrades or strategic programs that might unlock a postgraduate work permit. And we look at more Canadian work experience through short-term permits that create a bridge to PR eligibility. Foreign work experience can also increase your express entry points, even though it might feel counterintuitive when you're focused on your Canadian experience. Employer support can also be really powerful, whether it's extending your stay as a worker or supporting an application for permanent residence. Now, if you are an employer watching this, we have a dedicated video on hiring foreign workers in Canada that will walk you through the specific processes and your obligations. So let's bring it all together. The key idea is simple. Define the destination, then make every step serve that outcome. And when we do that, temporary status isn't just random, it's strategic. And when concurrent processes reduce wait times and avoid status gaps, you gain momentum without compromising your PR plan. So go get our free tools. They're the fastest way to turn today's plan into action. And don't forget to leave a comment with your questions and the topics you'd like us to cover next.